Hello friends, and welcome back to Ask Abby Dreyer, our second 2021 video, which comes at a really weird time in the United States right now. For those who are either not watching too much of the news or watching this video way later than it originally posts, earlier this week, a number of white supremacist protesters attacked the Capitol while Congress was in session certifying the votes for Joe Biden and officially finishing all of the ceremonies around the fact that Trump is no longer going to be the president as of January 20th, 2021. And the internet is going a little bit crazy with obvious outrage and then some confusion about, well, how is this different from all the Black Lives Matter riots and protests? And so I wanted to get into that. I will not allow the false equivalency of people fighting for their lives with people who are throwing a tantrum because they didn't get what they wanted. And I know that a lot of people are looking for a solid explanation of why what happened this week at the Capitol is different than what has been happening with the Black Lives Matter movement. So I try to break this down, right? There's a lot of emotional baggage around all of this for some good reasons and some really bad reasons, right? There are conspiracy theories going around. We've got the propaganda machine trying to get people to believe things that aren't true. And we've got people who are trying hard with facts and historical evidence and all kinds of things to show what's right and what's wrong. And that's really hard to do when people can't tell anymore because everything gets conflated so much, which is why I fight against that. I can fight against false equivalency and the conflation of these two things. So I want to pull it back. I want to take as much of the emotion out of it as I can, which is really hard, and I'm probably not going to be too successful at it. But the difference between these two things is the reason behind it. The Black Lives Matter movement started not in 2020, but many years ago when a police officer shot a black person and there were no repercussions. And this has been happening for a really long time. And enough is enough. And we are tired of seeing people with dark skin be mistreated, abused, brutalized, and killed by the police. And the Black Lives Matter movement is meant to bring that to the surface and say, this is not okay. We need to protect the people that we live with in this country. They are part of our family, and we cannot allow people using our tax dollars to pay for more weapons against my neighbors and friends. That's the Black Lives Matter movement. It is meant to pull people up and support people and give people safety. The whatever happened at the Capitol, people are calling it a protest, a riot. Some people are calling it sedition. Some people are calling it domestic terrorism. And I'll let the historians decide what that actually becomes. But what happened there was people didn't like the way the process worked because they didn't get what they wanted. And they tried to stop the process from being effective. The votes have been counted. This was a time to certify these election results. And this attack on the Capitol happened specifically to stop that from happening, so that they could keep the president that was perpetuating white supremacy and violence. So the difference is Black Lives Matter supports life and safety, and the white supremacists fought for continued supremacy. Comparing these two things is like comparing a starving child who's asking for food, maybe a little bit strongly, maybe a little bit angrily, maybe fighting for it, versus a child who is throwing a tantrum because they didn't get their second helping of dessert. They are not the same. The situations are not the same, and where they're coming from is not the same. And what we're seeing is that first child, starving, getting beaten for asking for food, and the second child getting another candy bar because they threw a tantrum about it. That is the difference here. It is not about whether protests are right or whether property damage is bad. All of that is just noise. The difference between these two things is one is for the safety and protection of everyone, and the other is for the supremacy of one group over everyone else, because those two things are different. This is a hard video to do, and these are hard conversations to have, and I honestly don't know how long I'm going to be able to keep the comments open. So I invite people to share their thoughts and opinions and information, but I will be ruthless with deleting comments or blocking people, because my house is a safe space. My house is a safe space for everyone, except for people who want to hurt others. So thank you for coming to Ask Abby Dreyer, and I look forward to less interesting topics. I look forward to living in less interesting times where we can focus on more benign things, where we can make the world a little better. But for now, we need to keep fighting the things that are holding people down. And we need to make sure that we are empowering the right people to keep people safe, fostering understanding, fostering listening, and fostering understanding your own bias. That's how we're going to get past this. Not by fighting more, not by arming more people. We're going to get there by focusing on understanding. And I hope that we can get there. We'll see you next week.